Hey guys, I have a question for you. Do you enjoy being a bell end?
Golf 007, turn right, heading 185, reduce speed 180 knots.
185 on the heading, 180 on the speed Golf 007.
Speedbird 124, reduce speed 160 knots to 40 ME.
Reduce 160 to 4, speed 124.
Hello there bellends, it's Bellends here once again, aka Matt, or the other way round, you decide. I apologise for the lack of video between 2 weeks ago and now, but we have had a world tour and I exhausted myself and I couldn't be bothered to load Flight Sim up, so my motivation for making videos and recording videos and just flying in general was pretty much zero. However, I have now rekindled my love for simulation and all things YouTube, and I am back to make some more videos, this time round not leaving weeks between videos, hoping to get about 3 or 4 videos out per week. Today's video is the long-awaited Fsx tweaking video. Now, this is going to be rather difficult, and I say that because we all have different machines. By different machines, I mean we have different computers. By different computers, I mean we have different hardware. And by different hardware, I mean we have different software. This is going to be rather impossible. So, I've come up with a generic way that everyone can follow and hopefully get some form of decency when it comes to results and performance within your flight simulator. If that isn't possible by the end of this video, then by all means hit me up on YouTube. Well, don't physically hit me, but you get the point. On YouTube or Facebook or wherever else you fancy, and I will attempt to help you as best as I can. Don't expect some sort of one-on-one support. I don't have the time to do that. I wish I did, but if I can help you, then of course I will do so. So, onward to the video. Right in front of you, you see nothing but a desktop with some pretty clouds and a recycle bin. First thing we need to do is we need to go and make sure we are all on the same level of what we have. So let's go to app data /Microsoft. I just said /, that's not a /, that's a backslash. So /Microsoft /FSX. And you will be taken to this directory. Now, what we are concentrating on is the FSX config. What we need to do is delete it, as crazy as that may sound. That will force Flight Simulator to regenerate a brand new config. When it does that, it will kind of load all the default stock settings that Flight Simulator has to offer, and then we can build upon those to make hopefully your simulator run an awful lot better than it does. Now, there's a lot of controversy between what the best tweaks are out there. There are tons and tons and tons. This is just what I do. You may know better, and if you do, then let me know. I wish there was a way that we could collaborate our configs as well as, list our system specs, etc., etc., and then we would all know what we are dealing with, because there is such a variety of possible scenarios. It's impossible to do it on a kind of one video suits all purpose level. So, that's deleted. Any of the backup files and stuff, you should probably leave them there. They're there for a reason. They're not going to interfere, so that's fine. Second thing you need to do is you need to boot FSX up. So we will do that. After you've deleted your FSX config, FSX has nothing to read from. So it's in its default state. Hence why this message appears. Now, if you've used my EasyDock tutorial video, which I did probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now, you'll remember that we had to change some key assignments within Flight Sim. Now, that is still the case. This message that appears now, I will read it. To access new features, we recommend that you accept the new default key mappings. Otherwise, you will not be able to access the new features until you assign keys to them. Would you like Flight Simulator to set the new default key mappings now? Now, if we press yes, that will overwrite every single thing we did in that EasyDock video. We don't want that to happen, so we need to press no. For the people that now ignore that and press yes and start commenting below my video saying that it broke their EasyDock, the joke's on you. You didn't listen. Press no. There we go. Problem solved. If you accidentally press yes, then you need to go back to the EasyDock video and you need to follow the deletion of keys once again. Also, because it's a new config, it's deleted the trusted section, which means you'll get these glorious warnings come up, and probably lots of them. You need to press run, and then you need to press yes, and then run, and yes, and I'll keep going through them and skip the video till I'm finished. Okay, so once you're in Flight Sim, you'll probably have that ridiculous music playing. Hit this mute button in the top right. That will get rid of it. It's probably one of the most infuriating things that Flight Sim does apart from being bad in general. So, settings, bottom left, easy to do. Well, bottom left, mid left, the bottom of the menu on the left hand side. You can see it there, I just clicked it. Go to sound, and you can do whatever you like here. But I untick voice because I don't need the default Flight Sim ATC because I use VATSIM or IVAO. The sound devices, etc., etc., you can set up yourself, but just for this purpose of not being deafened by Baldonal information on 122.8 as I'm over the top of Dublin, I get rid of the voice aspect. That will no longer happen. Good job. Next, controls. I use FSUI PC, so I disable my controller. It all goes through that. Realism, really simple. Everything to the right on the top sliders. Pilot controls aircraft lights. Everything can stay as it is on the left hand side then. Untick display flying tips unless you really don't know what you're doing, but I mean there's a lot of guides out there to help you on the way to knowing what you're doing, so flying tips, they don't really need to be there. Ignore crashes, well yes, because we fly on VATSIM and we can't predict when someone is going to spawn on the runway or at our gate, or decide to fly through us in an F-16 at flight level 360. Anyway, enable auto mixture unticked, enable unlimited fuel unticked. We are not noobs, we fly as best we can without using the easy features within FSX. Hit OK. General, you can uncheck pause on task switch, definitely. That means that when you tab out or you change active window, Flight Simulator will not pause. Get rid of the air traffic control unless you use it. And I'm going to change the units of measure to the hybrid one, which is feet and millibars, because I mainly fly in Europe. Press OK. Scenery library doesn't matter. Then we need to customize the graphics. So hit customize, and because we have deleted the FSX config, everything will just be at its default value. So target frame rate at 20 is a ridiculous idea. Let's stick that to unlimited. We'll lock it externally if we need to later on in the game, so to speak. Select your resolution of your monitor. Mine's 1920 by 1080 x 32. Never pick the 16 one. That's just an idiotic move. Filtering. Try linear. Hit that. Leave anti-aliasing unchecked because we will do that through an external program. Global texture resolution we can leave on very high. We don't want to preview DirectX 10 because it's buggy, although some people have claimed to succeed in fixing it. I've tried it. It doesn't work, so I'm leaving it be until we have a simulator that fully supports DirectX 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and so on. Lens flare, get rid of it. Light bloom, get rid of it. We need to keep advanced animations. Informational text, we can stick it to single line. That is completely user preference. I don't really care what you select for that. It's not going to affect your performance. Aircraft tab. 3D Virtual Cockpit as a default, which is because I fly in Virtual Cockpit. It would be really stupid to have a 2D panel pop up first. Plus, not many add-ons support 2D panels, or are not going to in the future. Untick Show Cockpit Tooltips, and you can keep the high resolution 3D Virtual Cockpit checked, it doesn't matter. Get rid of anything that indicates about shadows, because that causes problems, number 1, with FPS, and number 2, with AI traffic. Aircraft landing lights illuminate ground, we can keep that as it is. Scenery, okay, this is cool. Level of detail radius, we have it on large. Mesh complexity, I put it to 80, which is there. Press the arrow. Mesh resolution, we can put it to 2. Texture resolution, we can put it to 15. And the water effects, we can put it to max 2.x. Keep the land detail textures checked. Scenery complexity can go to extremely dense. Autogen density can stay at dense. And the ground scenery shadows untick, bad for performance. Special effects detail is high. Weather. Cloud draw distance 60 mi, which is about as far as you will even be able to see on a beautifully clear day in real life. we can't see that far. So putting it to 110 MI, so putting it to 110 MI would be, you must have superpowers. So 60 MI is fine. Thermal visualization doesn't matter, so leave it on none. Detailed clouds maximum because we want to see the most for our money. And we can disable turbulence and thermal effects on aircraft, and we can change the rate at which the weather changes over time to no change because I use active sky. If you keep this disabled turbulence and thermal effects on aircraft, sometimes it can cause S-bends in the air for some reason. I don't know why it does it, it just breaks it. Traffic, I fly on VATSIM, so all this can disappear. We can get rid of the labels, because do you see labels in real life? I don't believe you do. Get rid of the road vehicles, the ships and ferries, and the leisure boats. We don't need to see them, unless you're really one of those people that are here for the wing view shots. If so, you're at the wrong channel. Press OK. So that is Flight Simulator now set up without the tweaks in place in the config. The next thing we need to do is close out of Flight Sim and go back to the Fsx config. Okay, so now we're back in the folder of the Fsx config, which is exactly where we need to be. We now need to go onto the internet. This is where the generic part of tweaking comes in, because I can't do this for everybody's PC on a one-to-one basis. So we'll do it this way, and hopefully it will work. There is a guy called, and I believe I'm pronouncing this right, Jesus. Spanish, Mexican, Portuguese, I'm not quite sure, but it's Jesus. It's spelled Jesus. And he made a really neat tool for tweaking the Fsx config. You can find it at vintubo.com/fsx.html. I'll leave the link below, just in case you're confused. You will get to this page. Now, we need to fill out some of this information on the right. This tool will tweak your Fsx config, and it will do a moderately decent job of it, although then we're going to have to add some manual adjustments to it at the end based on recent changes. As you can see, this was created in 2010, and it seems since then we have found a few more tweaks that kind of work better than what this does. So, first of all, how many CPUs threads do you have? Well, it's really easy to find out. Right-click on your start bar, go to Task Manager, go to Performance, which we're already on, and then count these individual threads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 threads. Great. I know I have hyperthreading active, so I'm going to press yes. The speed of my CPU is 4.7, so I'm going to be 4.3 or more. My graphics card is better than a GTX 480, so we'll tick that. We don't want the VSync fix applied because that causes FPS loss. And the optimization preferences we want to be normal. We then need to find the Fsx config. So if you just copy this as far as Fsx goes and press browse, and then, well, we're already in the folder, but just for the sake of it, we'll press enter on that and you'll get to this. Select the Fsx config and press click here to begin. Now this is the cool part. It will come back to you with a bunch of details. If it's in green, it means that the option is already optimized. If it's in blue, it means that the actual software itself has tweaked it for you. And red indicates important recommendations that they are not applying to your configuration, but they recommend you do so. So, because this was made in 2010, things have come a long way, but this is a good way to start. We need to download the tweaked version of the Fsx config file. So just hit download, and then we want to hit save as, and we'll just stick it on the desktop for now. With that in mind, we want to make sure that you know where a backup copy of your Fsx config was saved. They provide a backup service for 24 hours, which is pretty nice. So, if you want to keep this link handy, by all means go and do so. To be honest, if you get to this point and you start screwing up your config, you can always just delete it and come back to it. There's nothing really lost here. You're just running it through a program. It says a lot of things here. It says affinity mask is not present, adding for optimal results with your hardware. So it's doing a lot of stuff. I'm not going to run through it all, but just let it do what it needs to do. Take note of the red thing here. Make sure to disable transparency anti-aliasing for improved smoothness with your Nvidia GeForce GTX 680 card. We will do that in something called Nvidia Inspector. I think ATI has the Catalyst Control Center. I'm sure you can do something similar with that. I really don't understand the people that use Flight Sim with AMD and ATI. Sorry. That might have just killed a few followers or subscribers, but I just don't get it. So we can close out of this. Now we have the config. So we can open the config now. And as you can see, it says this file was tweaked today at this time using this guy's automated Fsx tweaking and tuning service. Your original Fsx config was backed up here, so it's nice. It gives you a backup. So what we need to do is we need to go through the config, and just because I have OCD, I like to separate each individual section with a space so I can work from it, okay? So I'm going to do that now, and I will skip to when I've finished doing it. Okay, so I finished splitting the sections up so they're easier to read. I recommend everybody does this. It takes a little bit of time, but really it would be a good start, so then you can work from each individual section without much of a problem. So now we need to add the manual adjustments to the Fsx config. If we start with the display section, we can find it by just scrolling down. It will be here somewhere. Here it is, display section, right here, this whole thing. And we want to change and add some values. So first thing we need to add is something called MultiSamplesPerPixel. It won't be there by default, so just add it at the bottom. We also want to add MultiSampleQuality, which also won't be there, so you need to add it. TextureMaxLoad is already there, and it's set to 30, which is perfect. We want the wide aspect value, so it's called WideViewAspect, to be true. And we want the upper frame rate limit to say 0, which is unlimited, which is cool. And then we want the texture bandwidth mult to be 80. So we're done with that, just save it. Move to the terrain section, which I think is here at the bottom. Yeah, it is. So for the terrain section, we can change the LOD radius to 6.5. We can also add terrain max autogen trees equals 800. And also we can add terrain max autogen buildings to 1500. Now we need to go to the graphics section, which is up at the top somewhere. There it is, there's the graphics section. We want to add the high mem fix, which stops the memory issues within Flight Sim. And then we want to add TextureMaxLoad equals, and then 2048. Now people will probably be screaming saying, oh, you need to use 4096. I am not of any belief that 4096 is beneficial in any way, shape or form to Flight Simulator. There are a lot of people and a lot of companies that kind of go, oh yeah, we're going to give you an aircraft and it's going to have huge texture resolutions. It's just more to load. 2048 is fine. I've never had any problems with it. If you want to bump it up to 4096, then be my guest. But this is how I do it, so that's what we're here to see. Next is the main section. So under the main section, we want to disable the preload, which apparently decreases the Fsx load time, which is nice. We also want to add back in, if you're using my AI tools for FSIN, we need to add back in the SimObjects IVAO MTL entry. Otherwise, we will not see the IVAO traffic within Flight Sim. They just simply won't show. Find the scenery section, which is down at the bottom, and SmallPartRejectRadius equals 3. Okay, now we need to see what's happened with the BufferPools. So the reject threshold at the moment is 131072. Okay, we want to change that, and we want to change that to UsePools equals 0. We want to get rid of them, turn them off. I don't like the idea of using BufferPools. Affinity mask, it should have already set for us, which should be down here. Where is it? There it is. Affinity mask is set by the tool itself. And that is it. That is my tweaks pretty much done. So that is what I do inside Fsx to get my Fsx to run smoothly. Next, we need to move to Nvidia Inspector. I keep mine in Documents and Inspector, and we'll just open that. And we can open up the user interface by clicking the little spanner, which will bring this up. And if we just type MS Flight Simulator X, we will get to this page. Now, I will, for the sake of it, leave it there like that. You can pause it right now and duplicate these settings. Okay, so hopefully you've got those down. Just duplicate those settings. I don't need to go in and explain what each one does, but this is how I've got the balance right. There are some really nice tutorials on the AvSim forum that from Ryan from PMDG, Tabs, his nickname is, because apparently he plays guitar. He's wrote an article on that, and it makes sense, and I used it and it worked. So, you know, if it's not broke, then don't try and fix it. So just copy all those down. That's that. We can close that out of that. So the last thing we need to do is go into App Data again, and then Microsoft, and then FSX. Oh God, that's add-ins. FSX, and then we need to put the config file in there and overwrite. And voila, that is your Flight Simulator X tweaked. I hope this was a help. It's difficult to do a lot of systems in one go with this. If you are an ATI AMD user, I really would love to help you, and I will have a look on the internet to see if I can find some resources for you guys, but I really don't know how well that hardware works within Flight Sim. I've heard some pretty bad stories about it. Whether that's people over-exaggerating or not, I'm really not sure. So, with that in mind, if you have any problems and you're an Intel/Nvidia user, the chances are I'll be able to help you quite a bit. And as I said, if you're AMD ATI, then I'll still be able to help you, but just don't expect the same level of knowledge from me as I do from Intel and Nvidia, because that's all I've ever used. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. If you have any questions, feel free underneath the video to stick a comment. If you hate me, thumbs down. If you like me, bordering love, no homo, me, then thumbs up. I've been Matt, aka Bellins. Thanks very much for watching, and until the next video, which will be in a few days, take care everyone. Bye bye.